So a bunch of veterans go onto CNN and absolutely tear into Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump because they want new standards for the military. Watch the delusion that comes out of these people's mouths. You have got to check this out.
What I had listening to this 45-minute speech was, don't we have bigger fish to fry? Like China, like drone warfare, like Russia on the march? I cannot imagine that people's beards rise to the level of dragging all the military admirals and generals into Quantico for a lecture. I'm not understanding this.
Sounds like you're into the beardos.
I don't get it. Somebody explain it to me.
I think you're right. And I think that's the problem. It's unprecedented. It's unacceptable. It's overtly political and partisan. And if you watch that speech, whether you were a general or just someone on TV, you'd think that our enemies are fat generals, the city of Portland, Trump's political enemies, and DEI. And it's a really low point for the division that's supposed to exist between our partisan politics and our military. The shining part of it, the silver lining, if you will, is that the generals kept their military bearing. Yeah. They didn't applaud, they were stoic, and they showed why they are the guardrails that are protecting our military and much of our democracy from what is a very extreme political agenda that from Hegseth sounded kind of like a culture war TED Talk, rather than a proper, respectful address to our senior military leaders.
I want to play a little bit more from Hegseth. This is where he's talking about those pesky rules of engagement.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters.
Troy, I mean, is the argument here, let's go back to like barbarian warfare where there are no rules of engagement, everything goes, you know, no such thing as a war crime, you can do whatever you want? Is that the argument?
So warfare is fundamentally something that is very hard to write down in the international law, the law of war. I would say what we heard here today was not a speech for the pundit class or the journalist class or even the generals and admirals in that room. I think it was a speech for the warrior class. And he spoke about the warrior class a lot in his book, on his show, and he's building that military. And by warrior class, he means the few families across this country and the same towns that have, since we become an all-volunteer force, have consistently bore the brunt and the sacrifice, especially in the post-9/11 era, of that service. And I think he's speaking directly to them. And these are the 65% of the veteran population that voted for the Trump-Vance ticket for President Trump.
And
that's what I think
what is the message? What's the message to them? Is the message, again, I think my question is...
The message is come back.
No,
we're back.
In a concrete way. When he says the stupid rules of engagement, let's also remember that this is the Pete Hegseth who lobbied President Trump to pardon people who were convicted of war crimes. So is that what we're saying? We're okay with war crimes now?
I mean, obviously we're okay with war crimes. We support a country that's committing atrocities right now.
But I mean, the United States military.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying the rules are actually written down. They're called the Geneva Convention. And most of the modern world and Western world abides by them because it's a code of conduct. It's what holds us above the standards of our enemies. But the audience was not the warrior class. It wasn't the generals. It was the TV cameras. It was the base. And maybe it was the world in some way because they wanted to say, look, we have control over the most powerful military on the planet. And there's nothing that the Democrats or the moderate Republicans or anyone else can do. So it was a giant flex of their culture war, of their ideology, of the way they want to reimagine not just the military, but the country. That's really what this was. And that's why I think it's such a low point for our military, because they're again being dragged into some of the most divisive issues of our time.
For over 2 decades, we've been fighting wars to fight them, not to win them. And we need to build a military.
Did you and I not fight to win?
We fought to win, but the politicians and a lot of senior leadership did not fight to win.
Why do you say that?
We didn't have clear goals.
A lot of those senior leaders in the room,
we did not have
decorated veterans who served in
We
Iraq
did
and
not follow a doctrine that goes in with overwhelming force.
It felt pretty overwhelming at times.
Right, but we stayed there for 20 years, and we abandoned it with the fall of Saigon on live TV with people falling out of an airplane.
Troy, are you arguing that there was not the use of overwhelming force when we bombed the crap out of Iraq? Is that really the argument?
No, the argument is that we fought for 20 years. We did take out terrorist networks. We took out the network and the leader who attacked this city in the largest terrorist attack in world history. And we also engaged in nation building, and these were very abstract
But
missions.
how is that a problem with the war? I mean, I'm not understanding. Why is that a problem for the war fighters and not the politicians who decided that the answer to that problem was war, a war that that didn't make sense to fight, we couldn't win.
When I was governor, I was in Iraq.
That's a political problem, it seems like to me, not a military problem.
When I was governor, I was in Iraq 5 times, Afghanistan 3 times. We had a chance to visit with lots of troops, including some special operators. And one of their complaints, among others, in terms of the rules and engagement, weren't always war crimes. They weren't advocating for war crimes, all in fairness. They were just saying simple things like, we can't even do particular raids at night in certain compounds or situations. Now, that's a common sense thing. They like the stealthy nature of nighttime raids. But they felt they were being held back in certain circumstances, not all. There were certainly plenty of nighttime raids. And that's just one example. Maybe there are some rules of engagement that could be reviewed and improved upon.
And there's some people who said we want to go into mosques, for example. And there's this kind of twist that if you hadn't been hamstrung by these restrictive rules, we would have won in Afghanistan. We would have won in Iraq. We would have won in Vietnam. That's a reframing of history because there were so many other factors that inhibited our ability to win both the war and the peace. And there's plenty of political blame to go around for leaving us there for 20 years. But the idea that we're not lethal enough in Portland or now in places like Venezuela or Iran where there's no congressional approval, no congressional consultation is a manipulation of the public understanding of what our military does.
I don't know about you, but I want the people who serve in our military to be tough as nails, ready for anything that comes their way. I want Rambo-looking people that say, you know what, you can throw anything at me and I will tackle this, I will solve it, and we will remain the military superpower of the world. I mean, just look at China. Look at Russia. Look at the greatest military powers in the world today. North Korea, too. These people are fearsome. They only exude strength, confidence, and capability. Whereas if you looked at the Biden administration, what we had representing us were blue-haired people, 400 pounds, don't know a lick about anything, and they have medals covering the entirety of their jackets. It is an absolute travesty and it's a sham. Trump and Pete Hegseth said, you know what? This is ridiculous. If you are represented in the United States of America, you need to be tough as nails. You need to be capable of doing 15 push-ups. I mean, how are you supposed to protect America if you can't even protect yourself? A lot of people in the military would have been getting tired climbing up 2 sets of stairways. I see absolutely nothing wrong with enacting these guidelines and saying, you know what, twice a year, you need to showcase your physical abilities to see what you are capable of doing. And if you cannot pass the set of doing 25 push-ups or 5 pull-ups, then you have no place in this military. When people look at our Army, our Navy, our Marines, do we want to see a bunch of obese people, or do we want to see people who will conquer anything that gets in their way? I don't know about you, but I want the latter. And you know what? I kind of admire what Trump and Hegseth did because they looked them dead in their eyes. They orchestrated this meeting to let them know enough is enough. They didn't just send out a mass email and then people could just throw it in their spam folder and ignore it. He let them know directly, eye to eye. I want you to be capable of doing this, that, and the other, and if not, that you have no place here. That is commendable, because a lot of people would have just cowered away and sent an email and just hoped for the best and never have to look them dead in their eye. But if I look at you dead in the eye and say, you are not doing enough. You need to do better. I know you are capable of doing better. We need to show our best to these other countries, and we want to be the best person we could possibly be. That's freaking inspiring, if you ask me. And I'll tell you what, a strong body is a strong mind. If we allow these people who are 300 pounds, blue hair, to be ordering around people who are a less rank, then that's only going to serve a bad example. And they're going to learn from a bad person, and the military is going to just continually get weaker and weaker and weaker. We need to set the bar high and make sure we live up to that each and every day. I have a lot of respect for what Hegseth and Trump did, regardless of what these people might say. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think that we needed to do this for our military, or it's kind of antiquated and there's no need to actually keep fit as a military? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear that. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash on like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.